the Garrison of Dale. Now, from when we're recording this, Into the West hasn't happened yet, but who knows? This list may have won Into the West.
Oh.
Sam, you're literally Frodo right now.
He is the hero of
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 59 of the Gollum's Gamers podcast, where today we are going to be taking a look at what we believe to be the best armies from the new edition of MESBG. More specifically, we are looking at the Armies of the Hobbit rulebook. We've already made videos on the best armies from the good and evil side of the new Lord of the Rings rulebook, so be sure to go and check those out if you haven't seen those already. But as there's less than half the amount of army lists in the Hobbit rulebook, we are rolling both the good and evil into the one videos. That's what we're going to be looking at today. But for the Spotify listener, tonight I'm joined by Adam and Ali. As always, you can find us on Instagram and Spotify by following the links in the description down below. And over 60% of everyone who watches all of our content isn't actually subscribed to us here on YouTube. So if you do enjoy all of the content that we do make, then please do consider subscribing to us here on YouTube. Okay, so we are going to be kicking things off here with the Halls of Thranduil. So we have picked our top 5 sort of list. We all actually had the same picks from the Hobbit rulebook. So we haven't ranked them 1 to 5. It's just the top 5. So one of those top 5 was the Halls of Thranduil. So kind of the key takeaways from the list. What I've put at the very top here is new leggy equal OP question mark for the Spotify listeners, as that's probably the hottest topic recently in the GBHL and other Facebook communities on the new rules to leggy. I'm sure we will run through those in just a moment. As well, now your leader is a banner. So Thranduil did have the banner before for like the Mirkwood Cav, but now your leader, so not only Thranduil, if leggy is your leader, then your leader counts as the banner. But saying that, I think in Halls of Thranduil, only Thranduil can be the leader. Is it one of those factions?
I
don't think so.
No, is it not?
Because I think it says
Thranduil maybe, but
your leader is a banner. It doesn't say Thranduil's a banner.
I just didn't know if it meant in the Legion that like it says the Halls of Thranduil list must always be led by Thranduil.
I don't think so.
But yeah. And then also you have a free, which I put a little asterisk next to, heroic combat for Thranduil as part of his profile. That's a pretty nice new addition for him. And then there's also a variety of kind of other profile changes which have kind of improved the lists in certain areas to Thranduil, and then some other things as well. So where did you guys want to go first with this one? I actually had a practice game against Halls of Thranduil recently, and it looks pretty good. Where do you guys want to go?
Yeah, I'll start us off. I think it's very similar to how it was last edition. Obviously, there's no banner. There's no sentinels in the list.
So there's no banner for anyone that doesn't know. So you can't take a troop now with a banner on it. Yeah.
Yeah, as you previously mentioned, Legolas is pretty good this edition. He can now shoot whilst he's in combat. He can still shoot against models that are in combat. Pretty decent. Thranduil is also quite tasty. He is as he was, kind of, except he doesn't have a magic hat. He now has Dragonfire, which is essentially like an instill fear. He gets free heroic combat if he is outnumbered and kills everyone in combat. Is that right?
In the previous turn.
Yeah. So say he's fighting 2 and he kills both. The next turn, he gets the free combat. Now, what I'd like to know is, imagine he's got a spear support, and that spear support kills a model. Does that count or not?
So it says if Thranduil is outnumbered in a combat and successfully kills all the enemy models.
I mean, my instinct would be no, just rules as written there.
Yeah.
Although if Thranduil and then continues.
Yeah.
So I'd say the subject. the sentence is the fact that Thranduil has to do it.
Yeah. And then also to add on about the free combat bit. So he gets it if he's outnumbered and he kills both of those two, say, for example. But then if he's outnumbered in combat, he re-rolls ones to wound. And if he's infantry and outnumbered, he re-rolls everything to wound. So it's fairly likely with 3 attacks. Now, he doesn't have the, 4 attacks on foot and then more attacks as well when he's outnumbered by more models. So he doesn't have that, but he's 3 attacks, strength 4, re-rolling. It's a fairly decent chance of killing 2 models.
Yeah.
You're going to get the combat.
I think Thranduil's a little bit better than he was, actually. And he didn't really have a massive points increase. In fact, if you take him with everything, points, I think he's the same.
He's really good for his. I don't think you mount him. There's no point in mounting him.
No, which is really. Can we just touch on that quickly? Because that is I like how they've tried to make the elk more of a thing. I mean, you may see more people take it because it is one of the best models just to look at. I think they've made. I just think it looks so cool. But so I like they've tried to make it a thing. But then when you have so many of his other rules, which are so good, which are specifically about him being on foot, it's just.
It's again as well. It's 30 points. That does it actually make him 30 points better? And I don't think it does.
No, tough.
Because especially in a list when you've got elves and you may be at a premium for points, maybe when you get to 1,000, but
on that point though, there with the points, so the list now would usually always at most points levels pay the 25 points for a Wood Elf Sentinel, which you're not now. Would also pay the 25 points for a banner, which you're not having to do now. So it's actually, I played was it 750, I think? Yeah, and I had a 40 model Rohan list. And it was against the Hordes of Thranduil list with Thranduil, Leggy, and Tauriel. So all the 3 named heroes. And he had 39 models.
Yeah.
And at 750. So you can really get the numbers up there. Tauriel's looking kind of better now as well.
Yeah.
More of a role. So it's an option now. Do you take the Palace Guard captain? As March, I think you're maybe going to see less now. Maybe you want to not take March.
In the 800 point that I have drafted up recently for this, it's 44 models, Thranduil, Legolas, and I went for the Palace Guard captain, but you could put any of them in. You got a few Mirkwood Elf Knights, you got 4 Palace Guard and sort of Thranduil's Warbands, just for the fight value and all that. It's just really solid.
6 Cav now as well within 6 of Thranduil.
Yeah, the Knights are even better. They were already one of the most points efficient cover in the game. They now fight 6.
Yeah, crazy.
Well, I mean, I don't think they'll be fight 6 a lot of the time for where you're using them, but fight 5 will do the job.
Yeah, but they are now only. So if you're now going to go off and do Cav things with them, they are now only 5. So that is.
Yeah, but if they're flanking, fight 5's enough. But if you want them to go into a fight 5 hero that's in the middle of their line, like a Rohan hero or an Orc hero, then they fight 6.
Yeah. But, I mean, I know, this is probably, on paper anyway, one of the strongest lists in the game at the moment.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Just because you do everything kind of reasonably well. And your heroes, unlike, say, when we talked about sort of the Rivendell or Last Alliance list, one of the other videos, Thranduil's still cheaper than half of the other Elf Lords. Yeah, Legolas is only 105, Tauriel's 90. And it means you can do it at quite a few different levels as well.
Yeah.
You're not stuck once you actually can get a reasonable amount of points on the board.
And also as well, one thing worth mentioning is that the Elven Glaives have had a buff. So I said the Elven Glaives because they're now Elven Mage, just like the Elven Mage spears in Rivendell, for example. But they've had the Glaives before. You used to be able to use them to shield, but they've taken that away now. But they've added it in a slightly different way, and they're giving it a buff. So the Elven Spear now. So a model armed with this weapon, or the glaive, that is engaged in combat and is not being supported, either gains a bonus of +1 attack for the dual roll or +1 attacks for making strikes. So you can still shield, in quotations, and get your +1 attack to shield with for the dual roll, or you take it for strikes. Now, what that says is that a model who's engaged in combat and is not being supported. So you could have a 2v1 and take the +1 attack for the wound roll and still get your 2 attacks for the dual roll. It only says when you're not being supported.
And the best thing is, if you are trying to kill like a big model, these guys go in, and being supported has nothing to do with the idea of 2v1, right? So say you're
combat, yes.
Yeah. Exactly. So say you're 5 on, say you're against a Gundabad troll, and you've got Thranduil striking up, and you've got 4 of these guys around the side. You probably don't need extra attacks to win the combat. So you can just say, oh, I'm going to have 2 attacks from each of them to make strikes.
And then each one on a trapped model is 4 attacks.
And that's 4. And they're all at +1 to wound if they're near Thranduil.
As it's written, I think that's how it is, because there were loads of times where it came up where it was a 2v1 and I was getting minced by these, so it's not
absolutely bonkers.
It's not
you basically get a free trap, almost.
Yeah.
What actually, even
really good,
even if you're not using it offensively, one of the weaknesses of this list is you're going to end up having a lot of D5 and like not much D6. And a lot of armies are going to have a second rank which can't take shields. But these guys, as a second rank, are still pretty resilient. And you could even use them. It gives you a lot of tactical flexibility, because when you go, I'm higher fight value, I'm going to roll 2 dice, you still have a good chance of like winning a lot of combats, especially if Thranduil's nearby. And it just basically means you can hold up your enemy a lot longer than your sort of other armies D5 second ranks would be able to.
So it's lost the banner, sure. Like it's lost the sentinel. That was an auto include at most points levels. The banner, to touch on, like, because lots of these scenarios, I think all of the ones in the new rulebook at the moment that have banner VPs have now like the 4 VP swing in terms of the banner VPs.
So it's 2 which are 4 and 1 which is 2 points.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we said in our Into the West preview that, obviously now the VPs in each game are higher, so it's maybe not as bad as it seems. But like, now that's an issue immediately for the Horse of Thranduil player to try and address, which it wasn't previously.
Honestly, I think at the moment it's the main thing keeping the list in check from being the best list.
From being so fair.
Just because it's like, the fact is, you do have Legolas as well, so it's not like you don't have other ways to score points on the board quite cheaply.
So I guess we haven't kind of spoken that much on Leggy. So let us know in the comments. Do you think Leggy is insanely OP or not? When I played against it, like, sure, he can run into combat now. He can shoot when he's tagged off. So he's still getting the 3 shots in combat when he's tagged off. He's another fight 6 body at the line at strength 4. To win fights and help to kill. You have his might at the line or where you want it as well. That's also really good. But he doesn't have the auto, I'm going to 2-up your horse from across the board anymore. He cannot do that. So he can't just go, oh, your Witch King, who's like the linchpin of your list. Oh, Saruman, who like has to do so much for you in terms of casting and controlling the game. I'm going to immediately take away their 20-point horse. He cannot do that now. And that was something that was very oppressive previously. So they have taken that away, which I think is a very good thing. So I guess it's how much is he.
So I actually think Legolas is low-key worse than he used to be. Like, he's probably about the same.
Different.
But no, it's just they're going, he's better now in an aggressive combat battle. He doesn't just stand and shoot, because it used to be Legolas goes in combat, and because he's only, he's fight 6, 2 attacks, like 3 on a charge if he's on a horse, but he's actually a little bit squishy, and he doesn't really hit that hard. Whereas now, because you get almost an extra 2 to 3 shots when you're in combat, like as in 2 to 3 attacks before your opponent strikes, he actually is effective in combat. So his roles change slightly. He can still snipe stuff away. He's just not doing it to the same extent.
No. And I guess just to mention, sorry, so I was saying he doesn't have the 2-up auto hit. He does have that, but he can only do it on models that are engaged in combat. So if your Saruman's at the back of the board, obviously not in combat, he can't do it. But as soon as you charge in with your Bolg, he can snipe it. But if he moves, he will hit on a 3-up, where that never used to be the case. So
it's basically, you can't just keep rolling dice on the hits until you eventually kill them.
Yes.
You sort of are more like, cool, you've got the chance to kill the warg or the horse or whatever. probably use your might to make the most of it if it's that important.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's definitely not OP. He's probably about right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. So, but I have seen some strong words about how insane Leggy is now.
Yeah.
So,
People like to get on the hype train.
Just to provide a counter to that, if you do see a bulg that's say 20 inches away and you're shooting, you do 3 shots at bulg, yeah, you might have an in the way or 2. You can still go for bulg, and because of the up or down,
you've got the sharpshooter.
over a couple of turns, because of sharpshooter, you've got to go through 2 in the ways maybe, but you can still go for the warg.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just he can't just do it anymore. You're basically relying on a bit more dice roll, whereas previously you could go over 3 turns, there'll be a dead warg.
Yeah.
Like now it's there going, if I'm lucky, there'll be a dead warg.
So it used to be a 2-up and now a roll to wound. Now it's 3 2-ups. Oh, I'll just do 2 in the ways.
Sure. Yeah. So it isn't that it's not good, but like you can't just go like, oh, I'm gonna 2-up.
It just means there's more collateral.
Basically, Legolas has gotten slightly worse at sniping people with each edition of the game. Like, because not last edition before, he used to just hit automatically when he did that.
Really?
Then he needed a 2+. Now he needs an in the way.
Yeah, just making it worse. Like once the lines hit, like obviously he can't be right at the back, just like shooting through,
you can't turn him off either, which I think is better.
I think this is actually for this list better. Because I think the list needs the extra hero sort of in combat.
Yeah, that is good, and you get the might there as well.
Because the thing that Halls of Thranduil does really well is Thranduil and that bubble of death, where he gets +1 to wound, can be like fight 6, and is now a banner. But outside of the bubble of death is where Thranduil sort of can the Halls of Thranduil can start to suffer a little bit because it's only strength 3 in those places, and that is where you need Legolas or Toriel or someone to be able to just do those kills if you're facing like a D6 line, or
especially now with no knockdown, turn and kill everything with +1.
Yeah,
it's everywhere. Yeah, that's
so what you're saying, Ali, is outside that 6-inch, 7-inch bubble, because you got Thranduil and 3 inches either side. Outside of that, it becomes like Rivendell or Lothlorien.
Yeah,
sure.
So that's why this is the best elf list in the game.
Oh yeah.
I think
there's another thing. Yeah. There's another thing, which is Mirkwood Rangers also have sharpshooter. So it's tempting just to take a couple on the flanks, and you can honestly, this list has so many tools.
I still think Mirkwood Rangers are too expensive.
They are a lot.
For this specific list.
I think you can take 2, and just with Elven Cloaks on the flanks.
The Elven Cloak's actually useful, but
destroy supplies, Fog of War to protect your terrain pieces or whatever, or slowly go for theirs. For recon, I think these guys are really, really handy.
And haven't they made Stalk Unseen better, or am I making that up? I was talking to my mate the other day about something. I think it was about the Mirkwood Rangers, or is there something in their profile that I thought made them?
Yeah, there's something else about it.
More tankier, like against shooting, so you couldn't just shoot them out straight away. They did have Elven Cloaks before.
I think they're -1.
Yeah, they did.
Against.
They did. So, yeah, that's it. Yes, yes, it's -1 to hit. I think with Stalk Unseen when you target a model with that. I think.
So a model wearing an Elven Cloak has a Stalk Unseen special. Additionally, models targeting an infantry model wearing an Elven Cloak with shooting attacks suffer a -1 penalty when rolling to hit.
Shout out Mitch. Yes, I knew that was.
So no, I mean, to be fair, a couple sitting on your objectives is probably all right. If you're going for other people's objectives, you probably still go for the knights. But just to bring it back round, because you haven't got some of the other expenses you used to have.
That's what I was about to say. Yes, you
probably can afford it now. They're still quite squishy. So if they do get combat, they don't roll a 6. Basically.
so to sum it all up then, was 2024 not the year of the Go Ball, and 2025 is actually the true year?
I know, because these Go Ball are just not use Halls of Thranduil.
Sure, yeah, it'll take the depths of Moria to sure. Love that from James. Okay, I think that'll do it for the Halls of Thranduil. A good one to start us off there. So we shall move on to the Garrison of Dale. So another list which is looking pretty tasty at the moment. Now, from when we're recording this, Into the West hasn't happened yet, but who knows? This list may have won Into the West, but we did talk about it in our Into the West preview. So the headlines, I guess, from the Garrison of Dale. So the first thing has really great shooting. So obviously you've got the really good bows, so they hit on threes and the strength three, really, really good. And you have the wind lance as well, the new and improved rules for that. So is really, really good value. You're a fight for army with a pretty decent model count. So, obviously lots more things to fight for now, but like the warriors aren't the most expensive. So those two things together are pretty nice to have. You have +1 courage when within line of sight of Girion, and he's also fearless now, which I don't believe he was before, which is nice. And then also the final thing, the big thing here, Dale models within their deployment zone and or within 6 inches of a wind lance gain +1 to wound. So Dale obviously had quite a static sort of like play style with the knights and things like that. And obviously now they get +1 to wound when they're in their deployment zone. So for example, if you're playing domination, you're on the 24, half of the board is your deployment zone for anyone that was maybe unsure on that. So that's pretty crazy. I guess we'll come to Ali first on this one because Adam and I spoke about Dale on the Into the West preview. What are your thoughts on this?
God, Dale got better.
They did indeed. They might have won Into the West by the time.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win Into the West, but because I will. No. So yeah, it's basically everything got a slight boost, whether it be the sort of just from the start off, shooting's going to be better generally because there's less anti-shooting around. At the moment with the army list we've got, there's a lot more D5 and D4 armies walking around. So getting it 3+ to hit with a strength 3 bow, it's elf shooting, but without the elf price.
For 9 points, is it? Or is it 8 points?
Yeah, it's 9 points.
Nine.
Eight would be just ridiculous.
There's 2 points for the bow. Yeah, sorry, there's 7.
Yeah. Then it's like you got like a lot of models, sort of like not a horde, but like solid model count, which when you consider you all fight for, you're all probably getting +1 courage anyway from Girion. Yeah. So like you're a fairly solid elite
profile
sort of model. Your only downside is you're capped out at D5 because you don't get the knights in this list.
No.
And then you go, oh well, I suppose at least on they're only strength 3 and there's no real hitting heroes in this list.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh wait, we'll give you all +1 to wound for pretty much wherever you want it on the board. Because like if you think the amount of scenarios which either are a 24-inch deployment zone, or you go, oh, I've got, let's just say I outshoot nearly every army in this game, so they're going to have to come at me anyway. Worst case scenario, I'm just going to like have my wind lances like carrying up the board and giving me a massive 6-inch bubble, which cover what I need.
Turn 1, you are picking up that wind lance and running it up the board as quick as you can. If it's 24-inch,
So you're there going, I outshoot most armies, and I will outkill most armies, and I'm still fight for, and I can get banners as well if I want to. And I've essentially got an inbuilt Warhorn. So yeah, and the wind lancers themselves are now the best siege engine in the game. They've gone from an
actually explain the wind lance because I'm not too clued in on exactly. I haven't looked that much at them. I just know they're better now. So have like the Isengard ballista flingback thing now.
Yeah, so they now actually have the piercing shot,
right.
which is the thing which makes you fly through, which they didn't in the last edition. God knows why they didn't. They didn't. So they're strength 10 with that shot, and they're pretty for 70 points. They're actually not too expensive. But the main thing is they actually hit on a 3+, because everyone gets the shoot value bonus, and everyone will suffer so it's a strength 6 hit and stuff when you're flung, and that's why strength 5 when you're flung and all of that stuff. And I mean, just to give you an idea, like they're your +1 to wound bubble. But so I wrote an 800-point list, which I thought would be a points level where they start to cap out because they're quite limited on the hero.
He's wrote 800-point lists for all of these, by the way. So just as a forewarning.
So you get Girion, who's not the greatest leader, but he can hide behind your line and just not die. And he's got his own wind lance to go shoot things with his 3 might. Then you've got 2 captains, 15 bows, and like another 2 wind lances. So you've got 3 wind lances backed up by your 15 bows, and then you still come in at 49 models
Sheesh,
at 800 points.
No.
And it's just there going like, if you don't have if you have blinding light, this army's probably a little bit screwed, but it's still not completely because
That's
it can
just
still
not
kill
much
you in
blinding light
combat.
now. So
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's just like it does everything you need to. You need to be smart when you play this list. You like against this list, you can't just run up to it. You'll die. It's like the old Assault on Helm's Deep now. This is the good army's answer to that.
yeah. No, it seems very, very strong. Adam, go on. What are your thoughts on this one?
What can I say? I mean, Ali, you've said everything.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say is this. It just feels like they've got every rule in the game. I don't know. And
I mean,
and if anyone says, "Oh, they'll kill too quickly," you don't have to shoot.
no.
And also, you can take guys with shields. Just the way points will work, you'll end up taking lots of guys with shield, lots of guys with bow, and then a few shield spear. I don't think it'll be third. I feel like
So my breakdown
Yeah.
in my 800-point list is essentially so in the captain's warbands, it's 4 guys with bows, 6 with spear and shield, and then 2 with shield. Because I had spare one, so you are doing a standard shield wall potentially, but I just had spare points that I was just like, cool, everyone can have a shield. Pretty much you can have one.
I think it's important that they have shields because
Yeah.
you might need to slow down the killing at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when your biggest issue is I may kill too fast, you know you're not doing bad.
No.
Yeah.
I do.
And they will kill too fast because they'll outshoot pretty much everyone. And then as soon as they get to you, they get in +1 to wound and they fight 4. So you're getting a semi-horde at fight 4. And bear in mind the average fight now in the game is between 3 and 4 somewhere. So they're on the upper edge of that. +1 to wound is just so much better than what most armies have. Yeah.
There will be some counters to Dale. Like to be fair, Lothlorien will be one because they'll just outshoot Dale because they'll just be like, we do have blinding light and we've got the OG elf bows, as it were.
You're just not seeing Loth, like these armies that could potentially counter it. Like
we may do. We don't know yet.
Yeah. Are they going to be seen enough? Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. A D6 horde could undo it. So not that Army of Gothmorks is the best, but like a list that's built.
You don't even need to be strength 4. Like
and lots of Morannons. It could struggle with like an Iron Hills list when they're going their D8. But again, the +1 to wound actually makes that a fairer fight than it used to
really
be.
helps. Yeah. I guess
and they're the same fight. So
the next thing with this, so I do really wonder, not only for this list, but kind of there's other examples of it as well, where obviously we have the Armies of Middle Earth book looming over the MESBG community, and we don't know exactly how it's going to be formatted, what's going to happen with the profiles in it, but I would wager that there are going to be the profiles from that book are going to be added into some of these lists that we have right now.
If this gets Knights of Dale.
So this is sort of where I'm going. So obviously I'm sure there will be some new lists because like the Dragon Emperor, for example, won't go into the Legions of Mordor list where the Easterling profiles are at the moment. So there will be new ones. So there could be a brand new Dale one with like
I don't think this will get Knights of Dale. I think that'll be unique
there might
to
be
Brand
a new
and
Dale
Bard.
one. So this might not see any additions, but it could see Brand. Is it Brand? Who are the other?
Yeah, King Brand and Prince Bard.
Yeah, Brand and Bard. Imagine it gets Brand, Bard, and Knights.
I think Brand and Bard won't have Wind Lance options. They'll get Knights and they'll get some other bonus. I think that's what they'll get.
Like maybe they can only lead the Knights or something. I don't know.
They'll probably get something to do with the Knights where going like they get the front rank and back rank get +1 to wound or something.
You mean in their own list, not in
in their own list.
Yeah. But there is a world where some of those things are potentially added into this list.
Yeah.
Which
the biggest thing that's going to stop this list winning a lot is going to be players using it. And I don't mean that in terms of because people be idiots, but like there will be a lot of judgment calls you have to make because you do not have Cav You're relying on March to get around the board. You're going to be shooting a lot. You don't have any sort of get out of jail heroes.
Yeah, you don't have punch, essentially, like
Yeah.
from the hero to go and win you a game. You've got to
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
So there'll be a balance between knowing when to make a break for the objective, when like do you actually sort of use all Givens might, or do you need to save one for like when you need that heroic strike, possibly
Yeah.
to take out a big hero? So it won't be the easy. I mean, in half of your games, it'll be the easiest list to win with because you just shoot your opponent off the board. But there will be situations where you do need to be smart with it.
Yeah, to get the most out of it. Agreed. Yeah. Anything else from you, Adam, on this one before we move on?
Yeah, I just don't think that's too much of a problem if you practice with the list and get good with the list.
Yeah.
So I think that's the ultimate compliment. It's a really, really strong list.
Yeah.
Also, Smaug hates playing Dale. I don't know how Dale did not kill Smaug. Like,
Seeing as they're all hatred dragon, yeah. What the fuck? What were they doing?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that'll do it for the Garrison of Dale. So we will leave it there for this one, and we will move on to the Army of Gundabad. Adam, roll up your sleeves. It's time. It's time.
This is fun.
This is so. I guess the headlines here for the Army of Gundabad. So you now have Fight for Warriors, something I've pleaded for on many podcasts over the years now. Yes.
They have finally become Urukai.
Yes, they are essentially kind of Urukai. Shame they didn't get the Berserker treatment for the Fight 5 on the Berserkers, but that's another conversation. They do have Fight 5 captains, though. Those captains for 60 points. They have not gone up in points, but they are now Fight 5. That's pretty 11. That is cool.
They have gone up in points, but carry on.
I don't think they have gone up in points.
5 points.
Yeah.
But that's the points of them with a shield, and they now have a shield in the profile.
No, they were 50 originally.
Damn,
Yeah.
I might be wrong on that. Fuck.
You'd pay 5 points for 5/5 though, wouldn't you?
I swear.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sure, fine. So moving on to the next point. Bolg equals good, question mark, Spotify listeners, as we have spoken repeatedly on the podcast about Bolg not being so good as our Aussie counterparts so often preach. And perhaps this is the time of the Bolg. Go on, Ali, go on.
Can I just say, Bolg was always good and better than Azog?
Oh, now that is kind of a hot take.
Yeah, well, we can get to it when we talk about it later.
Sure.
But
Bolg is now kind of better, maybe in this list with the the way that the game's going as well. So yeah, and now the buffs for the actual list. So the key one. So once per game, you can sound like this horn, and then you gain +2 to any friendly courage test and -2 for enemy courage tests. So that could be really big at the end of the game. There's key stand fast going on in place on the board. You blow the horn, and yeah, that's super good buff. And then finally, the main one here is that there's like a reworked sort of signal tower that is baked into this rule here for this army list. So it's you don't pay the points anymore in Azog's profile. So each turn you gain one of 3 unique effects, which lasts for the duration of the turn. So what those 3 effects are, briefly, for anyone that doesn't know. So one of them is that you gain a battlefield-wide banner. So every model is under the effect of a banner. There's another one, which is a 6-up feel no pain. So if you take a wound, you roll a d6, on the roll of a natural 6, the wound is ignored. For the Gundabad Berserkers, they will pass that roll on a 5-up because they have the 6-up rule in their profile. So that's really cool. And then the final one, what is the final one, Adam? The Heroic March. So every hero can call a Heroic March for free. Is it only in the first turn, or is that something else? No, that's the Isengard list. Yeah, it's just all Gundabad heroes can call a march for free that turn. But you cannot call the same banner as you did the previous turn. So you can't just spam the banner one every single turn. So you have to alternate between the 3, essentially. So what do we think, Adam? Do you want to kick us off with this one?
Yeah. Okay. So fundamentally, this is the same list as it used to be. A couple of changes. Gundabad Warriors going up 5 point, and also to Fight 4. Amazing. Really, really valuable change. They've now become in line with other rank and file armies.
Just to add to that, though,
if not better.
You were a D6 horde, which you are not anymore. Now, obviously, there's other armies which are in that same boat, but it was quite a good thing that you were spam D6, but you are not that now. So
it was never a horde though, because you used to take. Okay, I used to take a captain and like troops, and ally them in with hunters, right?
Yeah.
But no one used to be able to take these guys with Azog or Bolg as a horde because they're such expensive heroes,
Yeah.
and let alone if you want to take monsters. So it was never really. It kind of got outfought and outnumbered, which is
Yeah.
not really a good position.
No.
Now, I think there's a real argument to go with the Gundabad Orc captains, get 3 of them, max your warriors, take a few big beasties at like 750. That would be really, really fun. Or you could run it with Bolg. So yeah, there's so many options now in terms of what is feasible because the warriors are very well pointed. They're in line. Berserkers are a little bit naff, and because they're the same fight value as the troops now,
That's where the
I
difference.
don't know if you want to take them.
You should have like the move 8's really nice.
Yeah.
But they should have got the treatment, I think, that the Isengard
Yeah.
ones. I still don't think they'd be really OP. I don't think they'd make the list strong.
No, they can't be fight 5 because the Isengard ones don't have the movement bonus. So it's either games which
They have something else. I mean, like they've got 2-hand weapons. I don't know.
So basically, the Isengard ones have light armor, which means their defense 6 against shooting, and their fight 5, and they've got the Berserker blade.
Yeah,
right.
I think we can all agree the Isengard ones are a bit too now, probably.
Exactly.
So that's why move 8, fight 5 Gundabad Berserkers have to be a thing.
I don't know. I think that's too much.
Let us know.
But
Bearing
anyway,
in mind, those
it's
move
reasonable.
8 Berserkers are actually move 11 for like every other turn if you want them.
There you go.
Or 5+, like feel no pain. So
True. But it's that you're not really going to take them because you've got the fight 4 now. So you take like 1 or 2 for the courage. Like the courage on objectives is super good.
I mean,
exactly.
The more reason why you're not taking them is because you've got better things to go grab other people's objectives.
Yeah, sure.
That said, that other good thing to grab objectives with, i.e. Warbats, Warbats have got way worse.
They have.
Their piercing talons is only on a turn they charge.
Yeah.
And also they no longer pluck. They just sort of like flick someone.
They just have a chance to knock something prone. They just drag the foot along the top of the combat.
Little claws over the head.
So
dominoes.
Yeah,
I'm going to push back on that and go, while their profile may have looked like it's gotten worse, the circumstances of their existence have gotten better.
Oh, Ali, stop coming at us
because they're free marching
arguments.
And also, you've got knocking a model prone was always the best thing. And as someone who used to have dwarves who couldn't have mounted heroes, if all of these heroes who now don't necessarily have horses are going to be so pissed off
Ali,
with you.
Ali, did you just say that the knocking prone was better?
Oh no, as in it's gotten better being knocking prone. So like you may not do the strength 4 hit, but being able to knock someone prone has gotten better because of the impacts of like what it does. Because a lot of people's big heroes won't always necessarily be mounted now because they can't be, or because they want to save points. These guys then come along and go, cool, he's not going to do anything this turn. If you've got 2 of them, you can always go, hey Gil-galad, sit back on your ass. And then like there's nothing that they can really do to stop that.
And I think as well, also the thing when he charges into combat, isn't that now only it's only +1 to wound to the model that the Warbat charges, where it used to be -2 defense for the model it charges and any further models that then charge the Warbat.
No, it was only against its attacks.
Yeah, I think +1 to wounds. I don't know the maths on it. I haven't worked it out, but like it's probably not far off the same.
I think it did say for any other models that then counter charge, is it?
+1 to wound is better than strength 6.
Sure. It's just that it was against other people, but yeah. So they've changed it. Sure.
The biggest negative is because what's the thing? They're a beast, so I don't think they can pick up objectives anymore, can they?
No.
That a thing?
Also, Ali, another thing.
Oh.
You remember you used to be able to move it and then fly it back, so you'd always be safe over your line.
Yes. No. It says when it charges, right?
You have to charge with it now.
Yes, to do it. Yeah. Yes, because I did that.
Which is way worse because it means that you're guaranteed to do it once.
And like the best
just take multiple.
The best way to use them really was to not charge and then go for it at like, good moments where you don't want to be charging with a fight 3 bat and then you risk maybe losing the combat, lose a move off next turn. Oh, now you're tagged off.
Yeah. To be fair though, they're still flyers, and so they're still really good at snabbing or grabbing like objectives, not picking up objects, but like grabbing enemy and threatening enemy objectives and
Sorry,
recon
can
and stuff like
other
that.
flyers not do that as well? I didn't actually know that.
No, it depends on what unit type they are.
So that's way worse for the Gundabad flyer then. So
Yeah, it basically just means
Bat
in
Swarm.
these object scenarios, which we don't really currently have,
Yeah, sure, I give.
they can't pick up
They will
those
be coming.
objects. Yeah, we assume. So at the moment, there's not really much negative to it.
But
In the future, there may be.
that is
But
actually
we're ranking it right now.
Sure, but like compared to the other flyers, that is actually quite a big negative. So
Well, bat swarms won't get it as well. I think so.
maybe
Actually, Adam, do you want to check it? Because I can't remember if beast is the keyword that stops you, or whether
Yeah,
they
beast
still can.
can't get objectives. They can't pick up objectives.
yeah. So yeah,
Because I wasn't sure whether it's swarm or something like that, which was the bat
But
swarm.
yeah, I think overall warbats are definitely worse because they have to charge to pluck. They no longer do damage to pluck, and
they can't pick up objectives.
they
Ali, you've
can't
been
pick up
outvoted 2-1. Moving on to Warbat.
I still think they have a role because they used to be ridiculously good. It's
they
another one of
used
those
to be
ones.
really good. But
Yeah.
actually, if you compare them, they were sort of the same level as Crebain. Now
Yeah,
Crebain have just
They
stayed the
didn't-
same.
No,
They
because
did
Crebain
make-
also have the same negative, if not more, because of where their main role of flying and picking up they can't do, whereas they were never good in combat.
The Warbats didn't make the army of Gundabad in the previous edition Super Mega Lemon OP, did it?
Oh no, but you used to like drop them in when you did the hunters and
Yeah,
legions.
so-
Sort
Yeah,
of
yeah.
thing.
You can't do that. now,
Um,
but yeah. So
yeah.
anyway, moving on from the Warbat. So I guess quickly to touch on. So is the Troll Brute really good now, or is that only when
Yes.
you've got the dwarf riding it?
Yeah.
No,
the
it's still
troll
good.
is really good.
It's really
Still
good.
good.
So-
Because now, even if you tag it off with one more, it's not going to stop it.
Yeah.
So I could build this list in about 4 different ways.
How did you
and
build it at 800 points, Ali? Do tell.
and it would be fairly competitive. Well, I'm glad you asked. So, spoiler warning, I may change it, but I've got 3 warbats in this list.
Oh,
But
that's a
so it's
lot.
44 models at 800 points. I've got Bolg, 2 Gundabad captains, 3 warbats, and a mercenary captain with 5 goblin mercenaries. And like the Gundabad's are sort of like 50-50 sort of shield or spear, and there's a banner in there as well. Which is just really solid. It was basically me just coming up with a quick one, but you can go Bolg, you can go Azog, you could like ditch the Gundabad bats and go in for like a troll instead. You've got the model counter, you can drop it down, you can go for a troll brute. So it really is a list you can build as you like. But there is one other negative to the list has got compared to the last edition, which is your Master of Battle for Azog and Bolg is now only a 5+,
About.
which makes sense. To be fair, like
I am happy though that they didn't just nerf them from being fight 7. A lot of people might hate me for that, but they are meant to be really expensive beat stick heroes. Those heroes exist in the game. So they are now here. They're not now the same fight as like Glorfindor and stuff. So they have sorted that out. But they've made Master Battle worse. That's a good nerf, and they've still kept them really
Makes sense.
Which is
so. Because we mentioned it, Bolg 1 was always great last edition. I played in many events with Bolg.
Well, I have not, so I can't really.
Yeah. So, because he was more cost efficient than Azog, he was still just as good, if not better, at killing troops.
Yeah.
He was worse at killing heroes. But what actually made Azog better that people didn't realize was the White Warg, which is why the fact that you can't take the White Warg in this list, people suddenly go, Azog's crap. Azog isn't crap, but it's just then you realize when you put him next to Bolg suddenly looks a lot nicer.
Considering as well, so one of the reasons why on this podcast we have not been the biggest fan of Bolg is because you face magic at every point level from 600 plus, and now he's not doing anything. Or there's less oppressive magic now. There's probably just less magic in general.
So when people really liked Azog was when Pits of Dol Guldur came out, which is a different sort of thing.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, obviously it's only 5+ this edition, but because I'm still defending him from last edition. Having a Fight 7 model with automatic 6-inch Master of Battle
This man
doesn't matter if he's transfixed half the time because he's still having an impact on the
still
game.
providing value. Yes, we've heard it before on the podcast, right?
Anyway, but he has actually gotten better this edition. So his kill tally,
is better.
I mean, it's basically the same, but he just gets Master of Battle after killing 8 now instead of 10. Which
Mighty Hero.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry, Mighty Hero, which admittedly is
That's not basically the same. That's a good improvement there.
yeah, it's 2 extra kills. It still has the same thing though of going. If Bulk has killed 8 models in the game, I'm pretty sure you've already won the game 9 times out of 10. Like because it's they're going, oh yeah, they're probably broken or like stuff like that. If one model's killed that many,
Yeah.
it tends to just turn like a minor win into a major win kind of situation. I've found, but no, Bulk's really good. I still think Azog's solid.
Yeah. But
He's just
like, I guess one thing to mention as well is that the mercs have got a bit more expensive. So they were a way that you could like flesh out numbers. You can still do that. You can take the mercs now in any warband though, with any hero. You
Yes.
can take them with the Gundabad.
so you can really buff your numbers if you wanted to that way because it still works.
I wrote a list where you can get 40 models at 650 with bulk. It's nice. Sure, we've got a load of mercs, but you've got to fight for like 11 wide line at D6 plus bulk and 8 might with 3 heroes. Like sure, you've got some mercs there, but high model count at pretty low points, and you've got bulk there killing everything. And at 650, you're probably a lot less likely to run into magic and things like that are really going to slow him down. So
so basically to sum it up before I come on to what is actually the best thing about this list, which none of us have mentioned yet, is you've got quite a good variety. Azog is solid. Don't underestimate his 12-inch stand fast, which will benefit like heroes in your army as well. You've got solid fight 4, strength 4 troops now, which will go toe to toe with most things. You've got your maneuverability stuff, whether that's from your berserkers, the goblin mercenaries, or your bat swarms, not bat swarms, war bats, take your pick. And you've got a bunch of fun monsters, which actually may be quite good now. I'll wait to see until how good they actually are. Because it's such a new world.
I'm not completely sold, if I'm honest.
I think the troll brute's actually the best one in there.
Now, I was hoping the Gundabad ogres, the cheapest monster in the game, might actually, but
I still think they're slightly not quite hitting the level you want.
Anything good enough?
Yeah,
but is not enough for them.
Yeah, but the best thing in this list is the Horn of Gorgoroth.
The horn.
Yeah.
Being able to go on the turn where you break your opponent and possibly get priority, charge your opponent's heroes and then go, or you don't even have to charge your opponent's heroes, go, your whole army's at -2 for these courage tests. So it's absolutely game changing.
Let me bring you a small little battle report here from my first solo hammer game of 2025.
I was wondering when you're going to talk about playing with yourself this year.
It comes up every now and then. But yes, I was doing just that, and I was using this list against one of the new Rohan lists, and it had a load of warriors of Rohan. And when they broke, I tagged off the heroes on a turn that I won pro because it's after pro but before heroic move offs. That's right. Yeah. So I'd called it, won the move off, tagged off the heroes, and then a load of warriors of Rohan at courage 3 or courage 7 as it is now went down to courage 1. So they all failed and they all ran. So there you go.
Even if you can't tag off the heroes, nearly all of those models which are on an objective at the back of the board or stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's no hero in
one key one to run in order to win the game. So,
and it's even worse if your army's got low courage to start off with because of where it's just -2 to your courage test. It's not like your courage value you can drop to 0 now. So like Goblin Town. I'm sorry, guys. Like,
off you go.
You're leaving the game early.
That whole warband is off the board now. Yeah.
Also, it's pretty good defensively because say the game's going really badly and you get broken, and you might be out of might or whatever. If someone tags off your heroes and you call it, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, your normal troops are basically courage 6 in old money or courage 4 plus now. Right, that's so good. Have I got the right? 4 or 5?
No, they'd be courage 5
getting-
because they're courage 3 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, courage 3 to courage 5. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
Yeah, no, that's super good.
Elven
Yeah.
courage.
Yeah.
So I think
guess
overall this list has stayed the same, except they've got a free signal tower.
I think that's just the one thing is we haven't actually talked on that too much, like
Yeah.
actual effects. You know, having a battlefield wide banner, obviously that was a
Mm.
really good thing that was unique to the signal tower, but you never saw it. But now every other turn when you're in combat, because basically once you're in combat, you're alternating between this and the 6-up field.
Yeah.
So you'll just switch those back and forth. So every other turn, everything's affected by a banner. I think you still take a banner because of the BPs, you have to do it. So
Yeah.
on the
And
one
also the turns where you don't get it.
yeah, on the one turn, your kind of banner's not really doing much, but battlefield wide banner and the 6-up, you know, you'll save a couple models throughout the game, and that's, you know, can make a big difference.
So
Yeah.
I think you march basically. You alternate. You march as much as you can, and you banner as much as you can.
March turn 1, yeah, and then
Yeah. Well, actually, you may not want to march turn 1 because
Sure,
depending
if you
on
want
how
to
you're
close
closing the
the
line.
sure.
But yeah, and then you're going for the banner reroll. Which is it's great, and the fact that the Horn of Gorgoroth and banners is board wide means that the higher the points you go, the more value you're getting out
out
of
of it because it's just effective. Yeah.
I think this maybe it's definitely the best evil army list in the Hobbit book,
Yes.
Yeah,
and it's probably in the top 5 evil lists in the whole entire game at the moment.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gundabad, Adam, it's coming back. I'm going to run this year.
It's coming
Yeah.
home, isn't
Bringing
it?
my washing machine Bolg out of retirement for the long-time podcast listeners. Yeah, he will be making his debut at a GBHL event. Or I have used him before, but yeah, he'll be coming back. Okay, I think it's going to do it for the Army of Gundabad. Spicy one there, and we shall move on to Erebor Reclaimed, where I'm going to let these dwarven boys take over in just a moment. So the key takeaways here. So first of all, Thorin is now a banner for all dwarves. That's a very nice positive there. He used to just be the banner for the heroes with a particular keyword. I can't remember what it was, but yes, that's for all dwarves. He is the banner. That's super good. One of the rules from the army list is that might can be shared within these family groups in quotations. So it lists kind of like the heroes are all bunched up into like either pairs or threes, and when they're within range of each other or something, they can share their might. So that's a cool thing if you're taking lots of those. I guess that's for if you're running the whole champions kind of list. The other thing is that all infantry heroes have access to March, so you don't have to take captains to get March now. That's nice. Obviously, you still need to take heroes that you want to spend their might on March, or that you don't mind doing that with, but yeah. And then finally, infantry can charge after being part of a heroic march. So 8-inch moving dwarves on the charge are going to charge into combat when they're marching. So that is really, really cool. So where do we want to go with this one? I'll hand to you first, Adam. What do you think on this one?
Oh man, this list is basically as it was, but it's got better. Like in terms of, yeah, your heroes can't be mounted. That's probably the biggest change.
I mean, yeah, sure.
But it's so much more similar to how it was actually in the films, because in the films you just see them as a spearhead just run forwards.
Yeah.
So now you can like march 8 inches into combat. That's such a big difference.
Yeah.
Because when people are lining off, I'm so used to people borrowing my 5-inch measuring stick and going, oh, I'm just going to move just over 5 inches from you so I can dictate the first engage. Okay, sure, mate.
Within 6, but out of 5, yeah? Yeah, nice.
Yeah, within 6 out of 5. Yeah, got it, mate. Now, they're going to have to use my 8-inch measuring stick.
They're going to whip out Adam's 8-incher, ladies and gents, at the table.
So, yeah, I think that's a big change. I think that's a really big change.
It is a phenomenal change, like for dwarves, really. I don't know how phenomenal yet until I actually try it out. But just being able to stop someone sitting 6 inches away, and the fact that all of your heroes have march, you've got the flexibility. You don't get the goats in the list, but
so Ali is so excited to try this out that even into the West this weekend, at 450 points, he just has to take Erebor Reclaimed to try this out immediately, even though it's not that good on paper at 450.
Guys, that's spoilers for the preview.
Preview went up 2 weeks before this will go out, so it's long in the
So Ali, you just cream over this list a little bit more, and then I want to throw down an
He wants
800
to
point
finish it
list.
off. He wants to get the last little.
So for an Oakenshield King Under the Mountain, I don't know what you guys think. Like, some people will say he's taken a slight nerf. I will say he's actually gotten better. By the way, when I'm talking about this list, I'm not talking about in the all-hero version.
Yes.
Actually, to sum up the all-hero version, it's just really good. Like, if you want an all-hero list, this is probably your best all-hero list in the game, I think. I think it's better than the Fellowship, partly because you can customize it a bit, and like all the heroes really support each other quite well. But in terms of if you're using it to lead troops and that, Thorin is now Fight 7, so he's joined the elite club. He has Strike, so he can build Gil-galad, and he can take Orcus with an Elven-made weapon as well. He's a fearless leader, which is not to be underestimated, because his heroic, he doesn't get free heroic combat every turn now. He only gets it when he charges, so that's taken a slight hit.
I think that is a bigger thing in not only this list, but just the addition that you could have mounted heroes with free heroic combat. So even if you tag them off, you had to be prepared for the fact that they kill the one dude in combat. You know, maybe it's 3 dice on 1 dice and you're wounding on 5s. There's a fair chance that you win that, you kill, and you're moving either another 10 or 8 inches in this case, which could win games. You charge into another guy on an objective or something. So that is quite a big thing that's changed, not only for Thorin, but I just, it is.
But personally, I would swap that for him counting as a 3-inch banner in the list.
Sure. Okay.
I've always been more of a fan of things that support the rest of the army.
Yeah.
Are you still taking a banner then?
Yes.
Sure. So
because then you've got 2 3-inch banners, and for those King's Champions fans who are going to miss like that, you've got 2 parts of your dwarf line which can reroll and be supported and stuff like that. But it does mean he essentially always has 4 dice to win combat, because he's going to be on foot now. He'll probably have 5. So if you're taking Orchrist, you can go 2-handed, like we mentioned in the previous video, for Elrond or other heroes, and you'll probably win that combat. And so in some ways, he's actually just as killy as he used to be on the go.
So it kind of makes the line a bit better.
Yeah.
A fair amount better, because you've got another banner there if you're paying for one as well, but less sort of flexibility with how and where you can use those.
Yeah. And the next thing with him, it's a bit relevant in this list, but he actually has Heroic March now.
That's mad, isn't it?
Before? I saw that.
Yeah, it's absolute madness.
Oh, I thought
so when we get to maybe some other lists later, that'll be quite relevant. But like, so he's just really solid all the way through, and like still very points efficient at like 140 with Orchrist. But yeah, then your army is dwarves, which we haven't really spoken about a dwarf army yet, like in any of these videos, because
they're not that good.
apart from Iron Hills ones, because Shield Wall's gotten better because of where now it's where you start essentially if you get a defense bonus. So if you think the way that we don't have piercing strike this edition, D7 is way more valuable. There's not that much that's going to be wounding a dwarf without at least +1 to wound from like a hero or something.
And there's just going to be less D7 around anyway. So when you do have it.
So that's become more valuable. Being D8 is also more effective as well now. Like, shooting's going to become a good thing because there's not as much anti-shooting. Just being D8 when you're moving up is going to be all the anti-shooting you really need, especially if all your heroes have got Heroic March. And if you kind of just want to outshoot your opponent, D6 Strength 4 Warrior Dwarf Crossbows is a pretty good option.
Fan of Iron Hills crossbows.
Then just to touch on some of the heroes, so sort of more my favourite ones. Actually, no, I'll do that in a minute because it may give a spoiler for Adam wants to guess what my 800-point list is. So
I'm going to say what mine is.
Okay.
And I have a feeling there might be a bit of overlap. So this, I think, could be one of the most fun ways to run dwarves ever. So
hear it.
Both are on Troll Brute. 4 crossbows, 8 shield spear. Nori, 4 crossbows, 7 shield spear, and a shield banner. Dory with exactly the same warband. So it's 12 crossbows, the rest shield spear, 2 shield banners, and both are the troll brute. I just think this is just so much fun. Nori and Dory both 75 points. They're really, really solid. Fight 5. Nori's got 3 attacks, defense 9, strike, and bits and bobs.
Interesting. Yeah.
Decent. Dory, essentially the same, but whilst he's within 3 inches of Nori, gets an extra attack. And he's also got Resolve, which I think is arguably the best heroic in the game now. I just think this list is just jokes.
So it's not the list that I've got, but it is a list I would love to use.
Double troll brute would be
Biffa on the troll brute is hilarious. Not Biffa, sorry, Bofa. So I mean, it just is. We kind of half vaguely touched on the troll brute, but the troll brute's actually really good now. And then as soon as you put a dwarf on him instead,
and let alone not just a dwarf with 2 might, but also a dwarf with 2 might who on a 3-up just ignores magic.
Yeah.
And has heroic march, which people may forget in this list. He gets heroic march, so you could just go zoom that troll brute through an enemy line and stuff like that, and you don't have to call with me when you do it, or at the double.
How far would the troll go? Would it just go?
I think it's just 9. I don't think.
Go 9 and kill everything.
But you're not tying him to some other hero he can go off and do his own thing.
Yeah.
Which is handy. No, I do like that list. My list, on the other hand, is more akin to how I used to run Old Dane list. So it's 4 in, 4 crossbowmen, 7 dwarf Iron Hill warriors. I've got Nori, but you could choose Dory instead. Nori's really good. So's Dory, but Dory requires one of his friends, which we'll get to in a minute, who's again got 4 crossbowmen and 7 Iron Hills warriors with spears and shield. And then I've got Gloin, champion of Erebor, again with 4 crossbows, 7 Iron Hills, spears and shield, and another Iron Hills warrior with banner. And then I also have Ori the dwarf. So I'll get to Ori in a minute.
Yeah, Ori's interesting.
Nori, Adam already covered. He's so points efficient for what he does. 3 attacks at 75 points.
For the Spotify listeners, Ali did just make a certain face there when he just sort of explained Nori's profile, which you'll have to check the YouTube video in order to experience that for yourselves. The YouTube viewers are loving it right now.
Yeah, but for 75 points, he's just such good value. And he would pretty much always be in every single Erebor Reclaimed list that I take. Although, oddly, in this list, I maybe would have go for Dory instead of him.
Wasn't he one of the worst dwarves from the film, though? Who had no character or anything?
What, Dory?
I thought...
Nori.
It was Nori.
Sort of. Nori got a bit in the first film.
On the wall and shit. He didn't even have a talking line the whole film.
Pretty sure Nori did.
I can't remember these guys.
Exactly. He was very mid. I'm just going to leave it there.
They're just profiles to me.
Yeah, but he's actually a dwarf warrior with a shield, heavy armor and a shield who go up to D9 now, which just makes me happy.
Well, fine.
But Gloin also has gotten quite, I think, ridiculous
Gloin bags.
So not only has Gloin now gone to 2 will and 3 fate up from, so he's 3-2-3 now rather than 3-1-1, for only an extra 10 points. He also gets 4 attacks if he's fighting 2 or more models. So if he's outnumbered in combat, he goes up to 4 attacks with his 2-hand weapon.
The fact he's only gone up 10 points is fucking criminal.
Yeah. So he doesn't avoid the -1 in his profile like he used to. So he's not.
That's obviously what it's.
However, again, if you're going, I have 4 attacks, I've got a spearman, and I've got a banner reroll. I'm looking for a 6 on 6 dice. You're more likely gonna get it than you're not.
Yeah.
And so Gloin's just an absolute smashing machine. He still fights 6 and all of that stuff, and he's so much harder to take down. you've got 12 crossbows, like we mentioned, and then Thorin we've already run through. Ori is quite interesting. So Ori, first of all, all of these heroes are swarm attack to Thorin, so your army isn't running away as long as Thorin's alive. I'll start with his Chronicler special rule, which is basically enemy heroes with Erebor heroes within 6 inches. If they slay a hero or monster, that hero may regain a single point of might, will, or fate spent earlier in the battle.
Yeah.
If they are unable to regain it because they've already got it, then one of the other heroes can instead within 6, which is quite nice to have. And then his final special, which is the really good one, is Protect the Young, which it means other
and this
friendly.
is why you are thinking of taking Dory instead of Nori.
Yeah, other friendly Erebor heroes within 6 inches of Ori do not suffer the -1 penalty to their dual roll for fighting with a two-handed weapon.
Yeah.
So if you suddenly go, Thorin has got Orchrist, is going two-handed, Gloin is going two-handed, and then also potentially Dory, if you go for Dory.
Oh, is
you go
two-handed now? Oh,
well, it's hand and a half,
Can
so
go,
you can go,
yeah.
So all of your heroes are suddenly incredibly killing in combat and not getting -1. And then as an extra bonus, because Ori, if he's within Nori or Dory, depending which one you go for, they can use his might, will, and fate. So you could then just use Ori behind your line as a little might battery as well, to then do like moves or combats or just go. Nori's not going to die on his D9 with 4 fate behind him and stuff like that.
There's so many ways to build this list, man.
So is that list, sorry, Ali, with 3 heroes or 4?
It's 4 heroes at 800.
How many models is
It's 38 models, so it's a little bit low model count, but compared to some of the lists we've talked about. But
heroes,
when you've got 4 heroes and 3 of them are, well, 2 of them are incredibly killy in combat. One is potentially getting 3 heroics, and then you've got another like fairly killy hero in combat as well.
That's not a bad place to be in with 4 heroes, 4 dwarf heroes.
Yeah, and you've got essentially 2 banners, like in terms of a practical sense.
Yeah, because you've played. Yeah, so
and you got an Iron Hills line with 12 crossbows in it.
Sheesh. Yeah, Erebor Reclaimed.
We will be seeing this in an event preview as soon as an 800-point event that I'm going to.
Everyone is looking for the higher point events. I'm looking at you, GBHL TOs. Get some 800-point events, some 700-point events. We need higher point events now because everything else is more expensive.
No, just to point out one funny thing about the family ties is apparently Thorin doesn't care about Feely and Keely because they're not listed in the same family.
I saw that and I was like, even I knew that about the dwarves. Like...
I wonder whether that'll be FAQ'd or whether like the rules writers have decided that Thorin clearly doesn't care about them because they're not an immediate brother.
They didn't go to the Lonely Mountain from Lake Town, so he thought, well, we'll sack him off. And,
Just to go through some of the stuff we haven't talked about, which isn't necessarily good in this list, is one, you don't have goats, so your mobility is limited.
Yeah.
Dane is kind of redundant in this list. He's quite expensive for what you get. You could do a Thorin and Dane combo, but I think you're missing out on a lot of.
No, Gloin does it better because you've got March on every hero now, so there's no point.
The main reason you would take Dane, I think, is if you want the 12 inches auto pass courage, but I don't actually think there's enough
less
terror in the game to justify it.
Also, because you're going to take so many crossbows, it's quite likely that people want to charge you anyway.
Yeah. Dwalin, for some reason, got rubbish.
I really hate that they did that.
But for his points, he doesn't make sense. I think he should have still been. He's only got 2 attacks in profile. He should have been 3 attacks. Or they could have put him up to fight 7, and then that would have been an interesting sort of like.
What is wrong with fight 6 3 attacks for the points you pay?
Yeah.
He was a Chad in the film.
It wasn't like he was broken either in the previous edition. Exactly. He hit very hard, but he's only 2 wounds, 2 fate. Like he can go down.
Yeah.
Put it this way, he's 10 points more than Gloin, and I'm taking Gloin every day of the week.
Yeah.
Feely and Keely are quite their combat synergy thing's quite funny in terms of like if they swap they get a free reroll in the duel. So you're just doing that every turn just to
thematic. It is cool for them as brothers, but it's
but they're quite if you're looking to increase might, because they've got 3 might each and only 70 points, you could drop them in and like. So if they actually had their shared family ties with foreign, I'd be much more willing to consider them because then that extra might could be used on foreign.
But what makes me laugh about that is in the picture, they're all in their groups of their family ties, and you can see foreign is next to Philly and Killy.
Is he?
Yeah.
And then in the rules, they've just gone, nope.
They obviously changed that sort of further down the development process than when they took the pictures. You get one more point on a dwarf because we're gonna have to move on. We're not running through every single dwarf profile. You get one more.
I'm gonna mention Biffa because he used to be
OP,
like taken everywhere.
He's
still fairly solid, but he's only got 1 might now. And also with his axe rule, it's once it's out, he has to pass an intelligence test, and he's intelligence 7+. So
it's not very smart, is he?
You're getting it.
He has an axe in his head.
I don't know what it is, something like just over half the amount of the time. So I think he doesn't quite make the list anymore.
Mustard.
Yeah, because he's stayed at 65 points as well. And when for 10 points more, you can get Dory or like Nori. I think you're doing that just because you're always getting that benefit.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
We will leave it there for running through every single dwarf profile in the Erebor Reclaimed list. Courtesy of Alec.
Bomber.
And we will leave it there for this one. But no, it looks really, really solid. So coming to a event preview near you soon, I'm sure. So we will move on to the Battle of 5 Armies. So a very interesting list here. So if you saw our run through where we went through the good armies of the Lord of the Rings, there was like the Men of the West and the Defenders of Pelennor, which have like huge selections of heroes and troops. This is essentially the Hobbit version of that. So there is a huge selection of heroes, absolutely tons. You've got elite, you've got magic, you've got monsters, you've got absolutely everything in there in terms of heroes. But then you also have the ability to mix elite and like cheap troop choices, and also with monsters, you've got eagles. But then, you've got the dwarves, the elves, and the Lake Town. Obviously, the Lake Town are like more expensive now, but they're still cheaper. So, you can mix and match those combinations, which is really, really good. And then the bonus for the army list itself is that you reroll once to wound when a friendly model in the combat has a different racial keyword. So that's the only benefit, because obviously the list just has so many different ways that you can build it and different buffs that you can bring in from the heroes and troops. So that's the only actual benefit you get from the list. But what do we think on this one to kick us off on the Battle of 5 Armies?
Starting first. Or are you going first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think it's just very, very customizable. You can take pretty much every good profile apart from Thorin's company and Dale.
Yeah,
I mean,
Dale. Sure.
It's literally half of the book.
Yeah.
You can take, which is pretty cool. I think you've got some of the best profiles in the game in this army list. In Gwai here, Thranduil, Legolas, Bofo and Trollboot. You've got really good troops. You've got might if you want it. You've got spam troops if you want them. You've got amazing shooting. Just got a bit of everything, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
No good army bonus, but that's, I mean, to be honest, you've got so much variety, you don't really necessarily need it.
You've got a ring bearer in there.
Yeah.
You've got it all. Yeah, go on, Ali.
So, I mean, it is literally, you can build it as you want. I mean, Battle of 5 Armies style lists have been popular in the last since they basically the Battle of 5 Armies book came out. Because you go, oh, what do elves do well? Fight value. What do they not always do quite so well? Numbers and resilience. Oh, look, we've got Lake Town for numbers and we've got dwarves for resilience. It goes, oh, what do dwarves not always do well? It's like, oh, speed and sort of like numbers is like, oh, cool, Lake Town can provide the numbers and then the elves can provide the speed. And then like, I won't repeat it again for Lake Town, but they all complement each other as a faction quite well. And like sort of Pelennor and all of the other lists that we've mentioned sometimes, where when you've got so many options, you can do so many different things.
Yeah.
And I think this may be the best out of the multi-option list because
Other multi-option ones, yeah.
because unlike some of the others where dwarves only been able to lead dwarves, Lake Town only been able to lead Lake Town, and elves been able to lead elves, is a bit of a handicap in some of the other Pelennor lists and stuff like that.
Yeah,
In terms of your flexibility.
In Men of the West, yeah, but in this, no.
Yeah,
well,
Not at all.
you're doing
also
that
the
anyway.
Eleanor one where you can only take you can take Warriors of the Dead, but that's a much more expensive route. But if you just want to take standard troops, you can only take the Warriors of Minas Tirith with Minas Tirith heroes that can lead them. Where in this, you can take men, elves, and dwarves with heroes of that same sort of race. So there's much more flexibility.
And because none of the heroes are like, unlike in those lists, it's like I want Aragon, or I want that. Like this, there isn't a definite. This is the one that you should take.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Thorin is probably the one that you do always take because he has March already and is just very good.
And like Men in the West, like lots of the bonuses are about Aragorn, so they say you have to take him, which obviously thematically makes sense. That's cool, but yeah, this is much more open-ended.
Yeah, and it's sort of like you can just do so many different things. You get like all of the dwarf heroes we just talked about. You get Legolas and Thranduil, and like Toriel that we talked about. I suppose the thing we haven't really touched on is Lake Town, which generally has not done particularly well this edition.
No.
Which
so your Lake Town militia is now 7 points. Oh no, sorry, they're not the Lake Town Guard. Sorry,
no, Lake Town militia have stayed at 5 points, but they only get a light shield now, so their defense stays low. But because their purpose in this list is actually to boost up the numbers if you want to, it's not really that big an issue.
Playing like the Goblin Merc role, like they're not really there to sit in your line. Because like before, you could do like Sam last year ran like lots of lists with like Lake Town and Iron Hills in the line, but you're not wanting those Lake Town militia really sat in your shield wall now. But before they were D5, so like it's not that bad.
Yeah, but so as I said, there's a million ways to run this list. You can take magic if you want in Gandalf. Like you've got Guahir, who's like really good still. And all of that. I mean, one version of the list I built is literally go Thorin, Thranduil, half elves, half dwarves, and chuck in Leggy there, and then you've got a 40 model 800 point list there, pretty much off the bat. And that's without including any Lake Town stuff. And then you've got Leggy, Thranduil, and Thorin. Thranduil, I'm not 100% sure whether you would definitely go for this because of where I don't think he gets the +1 to wound anymore, does he? Because that's the army bonus for Halls of Thranduil.
Yes, yeah. So you go Leggy, Thorin, and then whoever the next best hero is.
Like you could go Toriel or someone like that. Actually, to be fair, because you only need a warband of elves, you don't necessarily.
Yeah, you just need one.
Yeah. Equally, you could then build it a completely different way, and you could sort of not worry about the dwarves. You go as many like Lake Town bodies as you can to supply you with a crap ton of elf bows.
Yeah.
and then suddenly you just shooting spam it and you can get like over 20 bow shots easily at like 800 points doing it that way. Or then you
can, like if you take Gandalf or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like and then you'll have the best shooting list in the game. Because but yeah, so there's so many ways you can do it, and then all of them a bit like when we were talking about Azog's Legion or Army of Gundabad. Like I think you'll struggle to write a bad list with this.
Yeah,
like
with the amount ways you can take it. Yeah. I'm sure we'll see lots of these lists sort of in previews and things like that and other content that we'll make. So lots of different ways you can run it. I'm definitely going to have a bit of a play around. It hasn't been a list I've looked at too much yet, but yeah, I'm definitely going to take a look. So okay, I think we'll leave it there for the Battle of Five Armies, and we'll move on to our final list because that was the top 5. But we have an honourable mention here in the Three Trolls. Very interesting list. Has had some reworks. We did talk about this in our Into the West preview as well, but an honourable mention here. So first of all, the Three Trolls, the army list. So, but there are some buffs that have actually happened to obviously monsters themselves, and then also to the trolls profiles before the army list. So there's actual buffs baked into the profiles, which is nice. But then looking at the Legion, so the campfire, which used to be a rule in Bill's profile, is now just baked into the Legion, and it is a 6-inch banner, 6-inch resistant to magic, and 6-inch +1 courage. So that is really, really nice for the campfire. It's on an 80 mil base as well. And then from the Legion, so there are basically, when you look at the page, there are 12 unique special rules, and you can pay 50 points to add one of those rules to your list. So you can add 3 of them or 4 of them for a cost of 50 points each. You can add all 12 if you wanted to, if you're playing at high enough points. So what do we think on this one? Very interesting sort of changes with the rules and everything to the monsters.
I'll just sort of start off the bat. The fact that you've got a customizable points list for like 3 trolls is pretty cool, because you can play it at lots of different levels.
You can do it with every other list, so why not?
Yeah.
It's cool.
And
These
it
guys
also
actually
make
fit into list building even better than most armies now.
Yeah, because you just pay 50 points. Where
Which is brilliant.
I'm going to start doing more events, which are like 627 points or something like that.
Yeah, just make the trolls worse.
Or 699 just to really piss them off.
Yeah.
But no, I think they've done a fantastic job with this Games Workshop. They've really thought about it. All the rules are pretty cool. Obviously, some of them are obviously better than others, but there's quite a few which I think are really good choices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not going to go through all of them, but I think Full Bellies is the first one you get. Just the extra Might, Will, and Fate is just.
Yeah.
So every hero goes up to 333. So all 3 of the trolls go up to 333.
I think you gain 12 or 13 stats doing that.
I was going to say, we worked out in the West preview. Yeah, it's like 13.
Yeah.
So that's like 130 points. No, sorry.
65.
70 points with it, yes. So.
And I'm not going into it too in depth, but like, it's going to
go into it in depth.
I'll let Adam go into it in depth, but like,
8-inch measuring stick.
Yeah,
it's a very solid list. It's going to be very hard to deal with these once they've gotten a few like upgrades. I think this is going to become what I will refer to as the 4 and 2 list, which is you won't be able to beat it in a straight up fight necessarily.
Yeah.
But it will have some bad matchups, and also you'll beat it on scenarios still. Not quite as easy as you used to because of like dominant and all of that, but it's still going to struggle in things like recon or stuff where it doesn't quite have the model count or the speed and stuff like that to really overcome the sort of your standard armies. But and then I'll pass over to Adam, who can go in depth.
Okay, so Trolls Horde, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go through every single rule. No, I'm not. I think what's interesting is you can customize it for how you play the game, which I think is really cool. However, I will say I think there's a law of diminishing returns, because I think once you go past 700 points, I mean, technically, I think you could go up to about 900, but once you go past 700, it doesn't matter how good your 3 models are. There's still 3 models that move 6 inches. So you do have that to contend with. But between 400 and 700 points, I think these guys are that's just brilliant. So much flavor, so much customizability. Brilliant. Well done, GW.
Yeah, there's some really cool rules. Like you can give some of them correct strike, or all of them strike that didn't have it previously. You can increase the range of the campfire to 18 inches. So you've got an 18-inch banner, +1 courage and resistant to magic. So there's just loads of really cool things they've added in. Also, they've improved obviously the monster profiles by giving them dominant. So Bill has dominant 5 actually, which is obviously really, really good. The throw stones, they now all hit on a 4+ and instead of a 5. That's a small buff there. And Bill is actually fight 8 as well now. And the other 2 are fight 7, where it was fight 7 and fight 6 previously. So some nice buffs to the actual profiles, and then obviously all the additional stuff from the Legion as well.
Tom still gets his lingering cold as well. So fight 7.5 fight value.
Yeah.
It is better than ring bearers these days. You can go up to 1,000 points with Adam if you have all the upgrades, by the way.
All of them. Yeah, because it's 600 points of upgrades.
Yeah.
So, right, okay.
Shall I tell you the biggest negative, though, of this list?
Go on, Ali.
It's just remembering all the bloody rules you're going to have. sort of
True.
like.
It's like playing with
But,
any all hero list, though, isn't it?
oh yeah, but I think because you don't know what you have to remember which ones they have in that game
Yeah,
as
your
well. It's
opponent really is
yeah,
what it is.
You have
Yeah.
to make little cards and print them
yeah.
out.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
hand it to them. Yeah.
Um,
Terrible. But no,
I think this is brilliant.
really cool, unique list. Yeah, so I'm excited to play against it. Maybe
I
I'll
want to buy them now.
Considering how it is. Yeah, I don't know. It might be super, super good. Jay might have won his third Into the West in a row with this list by the time this podcast comes out. Who knows? Vince wasn't so high on that, though, when we did our preview. But I think that's going to do it if there's no other comments on the three trolls. So that was our roundup of the best lists from the new Hobbit rulebook. Coming out soon, we should have a roundup kind of the main changes to the main rulebook itself. So the actual new edition of the game will have something similar to this kind of format coming out on that book in the near future. But that's going to close us out, I think. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching another episode of the Gollum's Gamers podcast.